So, was the finale of Peacemaker Season 2 overhyped? Yes. Short answer is yes. As someone who loves Gunn, he did the show a bit of a disservice by selling the last 3 episodes that hard. If he wouldn't have inflated how crazy the last 3 episodes were going to be, the finale probably would have been received a lot better. He spoke on it too much, and I think this is one of the rare cases where the fans' expectations being so high and being distorted is not entirely their fault. I also think a big problem here is the skewed expectations from fans. I'm just as guilty myself. Early on, I thought maybe Batman would be alluded to in some way, because how do you outdo the Justice League or the Justice Gang finale from the last season? Does that make the finale bad though? Does that make Peacemaker Season 2 bad though? Not at all. I see so much hyperbole thrown around on Twitter that it really reassures my faith in humanity to be shallow. Nothing happened in the last episode? I guess healing from your emotional trauma and accepting that people can actually care about you and you can mean something to them, that you can have a positive effect on other people, take something bad and make it good, is worth fuck all if you don't have Booster Gold or Blue Beetle show up for 15 seconds. But I do think there are valid criticisms like the focus shift in the last episode, and it felt a bit indulgent music-wise of some of the few things, and that's because I'm a music lover. So without further ado, let's eat peace. So episode 6 is where we left off with the 11th Street kids opening up the QUC in Adrian's basement before his mother totally exposed him. Adrian is also apparently the plug, as he's kept all the money and all the drugs from his vigilante crime bust. Maybe use some of that money on some owl fact classes instead of all those damn New Balances, player. But they travel to the new dimension, and of course, in any dangerous journey, the gang has to always get separated, with Keith finding Harcourt and giving her a ride to Argus to meet Chris, Vidge going back to meet his alt self, and Economos and Ads staying back. I was so glad to finally be getting more Vigilante because we hadn't gotten so much of him this season, but he is the best. Him being endlessly amused by the most insignificant things, and the fact that he shifts so seamlessly between like this hyper innocent, hyper childish, and then hyper vulgar demeanor never ceases to entertain me. He's talking all delicately about cute kittens, and then in the next breath he's like, are you fucking kidding me, about Cheerios with an H on the end. The whole dad's not gay here bit had me cracking up just as much as him.
Many gay friends. My father's gay.
And then when we got 2 of them, my cup runneth over. Even more so because we got our big, bald, beautiful cameo with Lex Luthor being visited by Flag Sr. in Belle Reve. You really forget how tall and big Nick Holt is next to David Superman, but he's like with a cane, height-mogging the guards even. Flag needs a way to find the QUC, and in return, Lex gets not necessarily a prison transfer, but a shot at redemption. What that could mean, who knows? But then we get to see Chris and Harcourt link back up, and it was extremely powerful. I think Jen Holland gave such a strong performance here, trying to tell Chris how she doesn't have the same emotional reach that he does with himself, and then him letting her know that despite her flaws, despite her having that issue, he still loves her. And she gets so close to tearing up, but pulls it all back, which I can't imagine is easy, and it was just a very sweet and authentic moment, and I could see why that was Gunn's personal favorite. Ignorance is Chris ending with the discovery that they are in fact on Planet X, essentially Nazi world. Economos gets beasted belly to belly with the T-1000, and Ads gets chased down the street on a walk, leading into Like a Keith in the Night, episode 7, where we find out the fate of Judo Master as he saves Ads from the hordes of Nazis, which I would like to commend Danielle Brooks for getting into tremendous shape comparatively from season 1 to season 2. Anybody with the discipline to do that, to live a healthier life, deserves respect, but not one person could catch her? Come on. Rip lets her know it's Planet Wolfenstein out there and gives her a reality check on her lady situation. Alt Vidge lets Prime Vidge know that as well, and he can't have his buddy Ads getting hurt, so they take off back to the house. All the while, Chris and Harcourt are being chased by Alt Argus and get saved by Blue Dragon and Captain Triumph. What a beautiful name. Back on Prime Earth, Flag Sr. links with Sidney Happerson from Superman, and he tracks down the QUC to Adrian's house. Chris has to reveal he killed Alt Chris, which pisses off his alt brother Keith, but Alt Augie is revealed to not be as bad as we thought. Not without sin, but not on the same level as Prime Augie. You know, he attempts to empathize with Chris and condemns Keith for chasing after Adebayo. To reject so vehemently the title of Nazi in a world where this is the social standard, it takes some type of moral compass, which Chris is enamored by. A dad that's not evil. And John Cena gives such a spectacular performance as he pleads his case to them. He's in a world where he finally has all the things he wants, and it turns out to be Hitlerland. And in that land where Prime Augie would rejoice, this Augie rejects. He holds a mirror up to Amelia and Economos Economos about how he does the best he can with the monsters in front of him. And it's not like Economos or Harcourt have ever really done that for the monsters in front of them. And just before Augie goes on this legendary speech, both vigilantes meet up with Ads and Judo Master, and we get the funniest interaction between them. I hate this guy, this little fucking guy. Freddie Stroma's cadence and tone is so damn good here, but they get the drop on Augie and immediately give him a couple dozen stabs to the back of the head, which totally fucks up Chris and Keith. So Chris has to watch his father die again, and then Keith tries to kill him, and the crew gets after Keith, and Chris has to basically relive his deepest trauma again. And the guttural scream that John Cena lets out hits you to your core. Gunn wrote such an emotionally messy, complicated sequence here. It's just everything good that Chris wanted turned into the worst thing ever for him, and they end up escaping, and Argus ends up arresting Chris. What an episode though. Action, tension, emotion, humor, the Gunn special, all balanced perfectly. Moving into the controversial Full Nelson episode 8, we get an hour-long runtime as opposed to these barely 40, mostly 30-minute episodes we've been getting. It all starts in a flashback and a date night at Big Belly Burger, which I had no idea that Big Belly Burger was a legit restaurant like Chili's or something. I thought this was on some McDonald's drive-thru type shit, but they got a bar and a great entrance, and they got two cuties inside enjoying shots and having a good old time. And I love seeing this side of them, and especially Harcourt, because we don't really ever get to see this side from her. Even when she was on the roof with everybody, she wasn't as bubbly as this, and Chris helped her open up and also totally diffuse the situation with her would-be victim, because some people don't deserve any energy expenditure at all, and that is Chris's non-meta superpower, okay? That is the tie that binds. I also love how she brought up Adrian and how he has an older brother, Dorian Chase. I'll take all the vigilantes you got, DC. We then transition to current day where Argus is exploring the doors in the QUC, and they find this Willy Wonka-ass imp world, and the imps go crazy, overwhelming them. Fleury being hilarious as always, throwing the imps at Cupid Doll, and unfortunately he doesn't make it, which greatly upsets Fleury. And I love how, as vulgar as he can be, Fleury is deeply caring about the well-being of the people around him. At least he's deeply feeling. But I like how Gunn gives very hateable characters these moments of virtue that completely contradict who they are most of the time. It's like people are complicated as hell. We are living incongruencies. We harbor so many polar opposite opinions, emotions, all in this one vessel of a person, of a human being, and it's pretty extraordinary. But this set in motion the montage of QUC door exploration with the government winning and the workers, the people, losing big time. Their life, their humanity, their health, getting sucked into an abyss. Sound familiar? That's the big play. A habitable planet outside our dimension, not for resources or anything really good or useful, but for a prison. This wakes up Sasha Bordeaux since she's seeing the cold corporate hammer punishing unrelenting force on these people in their pursuit for a prison planet, okay? And she doesn't want to contribute to that anymore. Flag is totally becoming the thing that killed Rick Jr. It's still about Rick, but he's becoming the monster now. All the while, the 11th Street kids decide to essentially lock in. Econogoat lets Harcourt know 100% whatever they plan to use it for will invariably be bad. They don't even know what salvation is yet. This causes the moral cogs to spin. Ads comes through to the Fent clubhouse at Adrian's, and this man is on the switch with gushers and snacks like a real Sigma, and Leota convinces him to use the bad blood money and make something good out of it by using it to help release Chris from prison. I love how she also says you need to be nicer to your mom, and Adrian is just not having it, and all of us real Sigmas can't afford to be nicer to our moms. But essentially, after Chris is released, he basically goes MIA, so they have to find him, and we get the next part of the flashback. The thing that actually happens on the boat was a kiss, and damn, I feel so bad for Chris, because it's like you're having such an insane night with the girl of your dreams, and then she does this, which is like a level 1 trauma event, okay? This man is just getting cosmically whooped, but I love how this is shown as Harcourt's memory, and she keeps the ticket. She keeps it hidden because deep down she knows it meant something to her. Also, just the whole thing of her being done with this destructive cycle of fighting to feel and refusing to put a band-aid on it anymore and asking Bordeaux for the Peacemaker clearance. So good. Ads breaks up with Kia because they have two conflicting dreams and they can't keep crushing each other. That's one of the most vulnerable things you can do. The strongest things you can do. Let go willingly of someone you love. Shit hurts, but letting go can save both of your lives sometimes. Daniel Brooks, again, went hard in the paint with this scene, and then when they finally all do find Chris and confront him, he is vehemently under the the impression that he's cursed. All the death, all the destruction, every piece of misery that seems to be waiting around every corner for him would seem reasonable to him that he was cursed. He was a cursed person. When Ads tells him that's bullshit, he raises the octave and says, fuck off, that's what's happening, obviously. And when she scoots her chair in, claps and points, I was like, okay, this shit is about to get good. She's about to drop some bombs, and she does. Again, Danielle Brooks was probably the MVP of this whole episode. She had by far the most outstanding performances. It's all that damn Juilliard. She basically says, look, mofo, you're always going against your better judgment, taking orders from evil, and you might be big and stupid, but you are what makes me feel love. You have the capacity to hold value in people's hearts by being you. It is possible that people can value you, that you can be wanted by people, that you can bring out courage and bravery in the most cowardly, you can heal people. It is not so impossible for those things to be true. All you need to do is accept it. And this was so damn beautiful. One last time, Chris asks if the boat kiss meant anything to Harcourt, and she finally musters up the courage to access those emotions and lets him know it meant everything. Hell, if Fine Shit said that to me, I'd be pumping my feet too. So that's when we get our final Foxy Shazam concert montage 1 week later, and the gang uses the blood money to form Checkmate. Yes, the spy organization from the comics. Highly recommend Volume 2. I'm not too far into it myself, and it is very wordy, but it's good stuff. I imagine if the claim that Peacemaker Season 3 isn't coming, that the Amanda Waller show and Peacemaker Season 3 will converge into a Checkmate series, and that's how they'll kind of service these characters from now on. This walking shot just did so much for me. We got Adrian and Flurry spider quiz time. This shit hit my soul. Just a matter of fact way Tim Meadows says, yes, they can fly with electricity. As if that's such obvious information, and he's almost mad at Adrian for not knowing this, and he just doesn't even go into depth on how they even do that. Like, I love this so much. I need like 10 more of these scenes, and I'm glad Adrian finally got one fact right though. Speaking of animals, we got Eagly embracing a Kana goat, okay? They've come such a long way. All seems well, but too good to be true, and Rick Flag Sr. comes out of nowhere with agents in the night, tosses Chris onto Salvation to test out a human response, okay? They got our boy on a technicality, and he says this is for Ricky, and the bastard has fully become the monster, and all we can hear strange animal noises from the planet. So in the after episode podcast, if the name Salvation wasn't enough, Gunn confirms Salvation Run as the thing they are taking inspiration for in the near future for the DCU. So that was a 7-issue run from 2008. And there's also some relativity with the Countdown to Final Crisis series, which I will probably make a whole video on that because Final Crisis was insane, but that's what could culminate Gods and Monsters. Salvation Run was basically villains being rounded up and sent to this planet that had all these insane creatures that were designed to kill. Joker and Lex get sent there, and of course they have different camps, and Joker causes 90% of the strife, as Luthor is the only one who's essentially making it possible for them to escape in the end. So this will be pretty wild to see if they just start debuting villains in Man of Tomorrow, if that is the goal, and or some people are thinking they're gonna start placing heroes on that planet too, because Kendra did kill a world leader, so her exile could be because of that, and maybe Superman has to go and save them all and work with Lex to do so. A level of cruelty only a government of Earth could exercise, and Superman will not stand for it. That could be a likely cause and motivation for that movie, if not Brainiac. It's also a planet that parademons get sent to train, so there could be Darkseid seeds there, and maybe we could stop getting these annoying ass "we chose this over Darkseid" tweets. The crazy thing is that at first I didn't know how to feel about this finale. It was admittedly a bit jarring and not what I was expecting. You know, I'm not sure if it was the double runtime, the indulgence in the needle drops, but in a very similar way to Superman, the more I rewatched, I really started to love it. I think season 1 was more stark and enjoyable because there was like a linear progression, you know, there was less moving parts, and we had the classic James Gunn combo where he could balance humor, heart, action, and spectacle all in one, and he did so greatly last season finale and throughout the whole season. And I mean, we had a damn alien invasion and the action went nuts, and so did the emotion, and this time around we leaned way less on spectacle and action and pushed the gas on the character work. It's like Gunn just did more of what he wanted to do, and he didn't care about doing anything else, and I would have liked it if it was a little bit more focused. I felt like we veered off too often from music and the QUC search. I thought it would have ended with Argus reaching Planet X and Flag meeting Alt Flag Jr. and maybe Chris and him teaming up to defeat his brother and Alt Augie, but we kind of strayed away from all that like multiversal stuff where we were headed to since the beginning of the entire season. And a lot of people are calling half of the episode set up for Man of Tomorrow, but if it didn't actually have any effect on Chris by the end, like if he didn't end up on Salvation by the end of the episode, episode, then I think that would have made it just set up. I think it served a purpose for the episode. I see it as a pretty great cliffhanger. All in all, I had such a great time. That's why I'm giving Peacemaker season 2 a solid 8 out of 10. The first season is definitely better, but if this is an overworked James Gunn that could still produce at this level, I'm looking forward to more. He doesn't have to convince us. He can just stay a little bit more quiet than he normally is. Let me know what you guys thought of the season, whether you liked it or not, how it compares to season 1 for you, and what are your predictions for the future. I'm all ears, but that's it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all of you guys are well, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
NANI?! お前はもう死んでいる。
Are you sure about that?